going bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when we think of like the bigger picture, you know, the whole freedom out of the pandemic happened at January, February time. It was February, wasn't it? And when that happened, suddenly there was a massive surge of COVID. So many of us that work in health and care being hyper vigilant around COVID. So we've been tested and just on it. And I know for a fact, so earlier on in the year, I'd gone to a wedding. It was like the day after the masks came off. And then I went from Bath to London, to the Excel Centre, and I can't even begin to tell you how many people I spent time with during that time. I even shared a bed with you, babe.
You did, because we were at a conference at Excel, weren't we? Yeah. So
and we watched a TV show.
We watched a TV show, and you were laughing, and you were laughing so much you couldn't get your breath.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, I hope it's not COVID.
Oh, I hope it's not COVID.
Joking. And then you, in the morning, you woke up and you were coughing and you couldn't speak.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh no. And we had the big conference. We were at a conference, in the middle of a conference.
Yeah. So the hotel gave me a test. I tested positive. And then I found myself in a real quandary, a real dilemma, because we were staying in a nice hotel. And I wasn't just going to hold down in a hotel on my own. For that time. So I then had to cross London knowing that I had COVID. So I was double masked and like this, I don't know what I looked like. And then I had to get on a train.
Feeling really poorly.
I was so unwell. And it carried on. So, you know, I've had multiple surgeries and illnesses over the years, and I've never gone to bed. So even after major surgery and a hysterectomy, I still got up, put my face on. Even that if I put my pyjamas back on, I never stayed in bed. COVID sent me to bed. Yeah. And my family freaked out completely. So when we reflect on the year, I don't think I woke up until April.
No, probably not.
Because it was I was really unwell for a long time.
And then we thought you'd get better, and then but then you went backwards a bit, didn't you? Because you tried to do a little bit, and then you couldn't.
You think we'd learn.
And you couldn't breathe.
No,
and you were coughing.
And me don't get on very well the best of times.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge, and then I got better, and then you got
sick. And then I had to go and have surgery. I had to have my gallbladder out, so I'd been poorly from this time last year, and I had awful pain and things with gallbladder problems. And then ended up in West Cornwall Hospital, who were absolutely, but that was April. So January, February and March, I was being really careful with my health to try and make sure I didn't have any symptoms.
Touch wood, the hot logs on the fire. Yeah, touch wood, you've never had COVID.
No, I haven't. And even though my boys have had it, who were living at home at the time, and one of their girlfriends who was living at home, they had it. We were so rigid, we were so strict with where they had to be, stay in your rooms, and we delivered the food to the stairs. And then they would literally come in from work if they were working, get changed, a shower, all of those that we kind of have forgotten a bit now, haven't we? And it was like, you get undressed at the door, your stuff goes in the bag and it goes straight in the washing machine. Yeah. We were so strict with it. And then I was working in the COVID clinic, so I was meeting a lot of people, but had masks and the PPI on, so that was always a risk, and that was a dilemma because I didn't want to go there and then bring it to work with me. So I'm really thankful that I didn't get it.
Oh, what we like! It's been like so. Personally, the year on reflection's been quite fascinating. The journey. I love the cocoon effect where so many people who've been restricted for the lockdown are thriving, or certainly enjoying the freedom again, or really appreciating the freedom again. So I think there's been a lot of that. So I feel lots of great opportunities have happened for us as a business, personally. My willingness, because I'm a girl that has struggled with social anxiety, so my willingness to actually do things and actually follow it through has been hilarious. So, like on a social scale, I agree to go to a party and actually go to the party and rock it out. Those things I've just not done for years. No. So I feel quite liberated in 2022. And God knows what 2023 is going to look like, to be fair, because I'm all over this. And I'm very excited about the future, whatever it's going to look like. But I haven't finished with reflection. We will come back to this. Something came up recently. As you know, we tell a story around how we help women with mental health and the connection to peri and post menopause. Conversation has come up recently around what's Christmas going to look like for many. And Christmas isn't always a place of joy and happiness. So it's kind of like, let's think about how we can improve people's lives this time of year, or just simply keep an eye out.
Yeah. And we know that there's hubs, aren't there? And on social media, I've seen a lot of, I can't buy for my children this year, or I can't even afford to cook for them. What can I do? Any ideas? And people are coming along and saying, I'll cook for you. It's no problem for me to cook extra. Or they're saying, go to this place because they're providing free meals, like Salvation Army, for example. And if you can, go and help out. And there are so many people, so many services that are willing to help. And it's about having the courage to ask, I think, isn't it? Because we're all so proud, but when it involves your health and your nutrition and your children, your family, then I think it's important to be able to ask, and for those that are working in those services to be really empathetic and share.
And you just don't know what goes on in people's lives, do you? So sharing, having, getting over that fear of asking for help. Because it's not a sign of weakness.
No.
If anything, it's the others. It's like, if somebody reached out and said, "I need you," like, I'd be there.
Oh, completely.
And that's what we do.
Yeah,
I mean, it's,
we do.
It's kind of in all sorts of scenarios, actually, we'll be there. I don't know. I mean, nobody's ever knocked on my door and said, "Come with me, bring a shovel." I've never had that, but I'd probably have a go.
We've offered. We've offered our
it
services
a few times over the years.
But these services are there, aren't they? They're there and they're waiting for people to use those services. So why not use them if you need to?
Yeah, absolutely.
And looking out for your neighbours. You've always got an older neighbour or a vulnerable neighbour who might need help, and again, who won't ask. But if you're clocking it, if you're watching and looking and seeing maybe how many visitors they get, or are they going out and doing their shopping, then you can just kind of offer. And I text my neighbour. And she is vulnerable, but she's not older particularly, but her husband works away and she's been quite poorly. And so I kind of say to her, if you need somebody in the night, for instance, then message me, call me, because that must be quite scary if you're poorly in the night. Or
you, as you've been in the caring industry a long time, so that feeling like you've got purpose. That if somebody asks you or reaches out to you and says, help me in the middle of the night, be there. Because then you feel like you've got a bit of a purpose. And it's by helping somebody else always makes you feel good about yourself too. I think that's important. But it's the wider picture here. There's lots of people that are going through chemotherapy, for example. They may have lost loved ones this time of year. We talked about this in the car today. You lost your mum.
Yeah, I lost my mum 3 days before Christmas. And my friend's got a funeral.
I've got
and
a
it's
funeral
like,
next
and I'm
week.
like, do we go? Do I park my own sadness to support my friend?
I feel the same. I lost
really
my
tough.
dad at Christmas, and then I lost my father-in-law at Christmas, whose birthday is on Christmas Day. So there's always that little moment of those empty spaces at the table, and if they were with us now, what would it look like? How noisy it would be. Certainly with Tony's dad. But I've got a funeral to attend next week, and it's in the same places that my dad's funeral was at. And so I know that's
really
going to be
triggering, isn't it?
a big thing, because my mum's going to be there, my brothers are going to be there, and it's quite it's very humbling and grounding. And just to remind yourself, it's like a lot of people think we're sat here all glam and covered in sequins and all teeth and boobs and
life's
it's
rosy.
all perfect. But we've had our fair share, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. and I think it's important to recognise that if somebody's sad, or if they appear to be not angry but distracted, then there's something going on. And it's just being kind.
I do like a cup of tea. I have a cup of tea with anyone. Anybody needs a cup of tea with me, bring them on. I love it.
Not today.
And
not
today,
tomorrow.
she's busy. Like, that's not true. I think you can always make time for people.
Yeah.
Even it's just, I acknowledge you, I see you, let's catch up in a minute. You know, it's a tough one. Another thing that's also come up, I talk to you about it, we talk about it a lot, about being selfish.
Yes, yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, we're not selfish, are we? As a
Why
rule,
is it important?
why is it important? Because sometimes if you're not selfish, you're constantly thinking about other people.
Okay. And what happens?
And then you become either ill or overwhelmed, or your mental health suffers, or your physical health suffers, and then you can't help those who you love, and you can't work because you're overwhelmed and your body can't cope with that stress.
Yeah.
So, you know, what do you mean by selfish?
So I always remember the analogy is aeroplane. On an airplane. Couldn't think of the word.
Yeah,
love.
I know you couldn't.
So yeah, I think about that. Flight attendant. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And she says, if you're with a child, put the mask on yourself first, then the child. And that's a real sort of metaphor for life, that you really do need to look after yourself before others. Now, that is not how many people operate at all. In fact, particularly when you talk to mums, it is, you know, family first, everything else, then you. And by which point you're probably depleted and exhausted. But actually, let's flip that narrative. When you look after yourself and make yourself well and support yourself, you can do more. And you can be better at what you're already doing. It's just about flipping the narrative and making sure you look after your number one, because this is the quandary. If you're sick, what then happens to the people around you? And that's really a real poignant thing. So the example would be, my mum was a full-time carer for my dad, and then my mum got rushed into hospital with heart issues. My dad, within, I think it was like 10 hours, was put into a care home. Not a care package where he could manage at home, which actually he could have done with the support of the community around him, but no, straight into a care home. And then the struggle and the challenge to get Dad out of that care home when my mum returned from hospital 10 days later, not to mention the cost.
Yeah.
So, and they don't have a lot of money.
No.
But it was just like a real lesson that you have to look after yourself. And I've always maintained, particularly when you're dealing with those that are chronically unwell, those carers, you've got to look after yourself. So keep up your groups.
I was going to say, and it's not about going for a spa day, is it? I mean, that would be nice, but it's not about going for a spa day.
Yeah, it's definitely about, oh, it's so toasty.
It's so warm in here.
It's definitely about, you know, keeping up. So my mum she had a lovely choir, and mum had, you know, she's got a little guild that she goes to, and she refers to the ladies in her guild as the old ladies, and my mum is the same age as them. And she still does that, and they have purpose, and, you know, even in their 80s now, they still go off to the local pensioners' lunch in the local pub, and, you know, all of that stuff is just so important for the soul. So and, you know, the warm hubs, you'll meet new friends. You'll have new experiences. It's actually quite a nice place to go, and it takes us back to the old days of community. Because we're forgetting, you know, community rules the country. We need to get into our communities and remind ourselves. I mean, it was such a tragedy, wasn't it, losing post offices?
Yeah, oh, completely. Yeah, but you know, when you go to these places and you meet with your groups and your friends, you can offload, but it's not even about offloading, it's about sharing your experiences. And I think once you've chatted about it and talked about it, then you feel so much better because you've shared it, and then they go, oh yeah, I did that, and this is what I did, or oh, I feel really bad for you, and then they give you a cuddle or a cutch or whatever, and you share it and you have offloaded it, and then you immediately feel better.
So I want to talk about the importance of reflection, and in terms of when good things strike, celebrate. Because we used to talk about this all the time. You know, there was a time when business was tough. and it was really hard trying to do what we were doing because there weren't many people innovating around well-being like we were. So people didn't quite get it, or get it without, you know, what's the deal. So when we had a great email or a booking in the old days, for example, we'd go out and celebrate.
We'd go
and
and have
be like,
a
oh my
glass of
God, this is so
wine.
positive, this is really exciting. And then it got to the point where the emails were thick and fast and furious, and we became really busy, and then we forgot, you know, great words to take that. Do you want me to sing today?
No, please don't.
Oh my God, I'd be so excited. But the great words to take that, you know, you got to remember your roots. You've got to think about where you came from, and reflection is such a good thing. If you go back into the beginning of this year and think how we've all evolved, I know there's a lot of rubbish still ahead, and we're all belt and braces hanging on for grim life. But think about where you've come from. We've survived a pandemic. We're moving forward, albeit into another crisis. But we've got to think about all the goodness that's happened over this year so far.
Yeah,
right?
be grateful and celebrate. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's all about party on. Party on, Wayne. Oh, I feel myself going like I'm doing references to films and I'll change position. There you go. References to films and songs right now. Okay, the other thing I'm full of ideas today. Honestly, what happens next? So it's all very well reflecting, but what happens next? What have we got to look forward to next year?
Ooh. Well, I suppose it depends what you plan, doesn't it?
You got holidays. Is anyone booking a vacation? I'd love to know about that. That
Not
would be
yet,
quite nice.
but I will be.
My friend is really cross at me because
She keeps going on holiday without me.
I keep going on holiday. Actually, it's about saying yes.
Oh yeah.
So we had a holiday this year where we're very blessed. But we had friends who basically said they were living in Santorini, just pay for the flight. And it was like, okay, because Santorini is quite an expensive place to be. We've all seen Mamma Mia. And we said yes. And we'd lost our dog and we were sad. And we both looked at each other and went, you know what? They're not going to be in that place long.
No.
We're probably not going to see them for years, if not again.
Yeah.
Even though social media connects all of us and pulls us all together. So we did it. We said yes. And we didn't really have a lot of money in our pockets to do either, but we went and it was great. And some of those sunsets and the memories and the laughter is enough to keep you full of energy and joy for the next phase of your life. So, and I think that's been a real mindset shift, and something that I'd like to encourage more people to do is to say yes. And I say that glibly because I also say no. But say yes. If somebody offers you something and it's an opportunity to have an experience, do it.
And we did that, didn't we? Was it last Christmas or the Christmas before? We said rather than buy presents, let's have an experience.
Oh, yeah, and I took you horse riding.
Yeah, so we went horse riding, and it was and it came out of a conversation that I said I've never ridden a horse, but I would love to.
Yeah.
And you took that on board, and you booked us a little horse riding session.
And that was fabulous.
It was so good. It was such a lot of fun.
And I'm terrible at horse riding,
And
but it all came back.
And I
loved
didn't
it.
have a clue.
Oh,
and I got the naughty horse who wanted to go to the left, and I didn't, and they didn't even tell us what to do with it.
No,
how to steer it.
It wasn't a hack. It was just like a little meander.
And then we were going up the hill, and I didn't have a clue. I
you
can't
were
do
fantastic.
that. But it was such a good
so
memory.
What we're saying, experiences are good.
Yeah, experiences are good. Don't say.
And I think a lot of that comes up these days about if you haven't got money to do something, go for a walk.
Yeah.
Meet dog people.
Yeah.
Because dog people talk to everyone. Mostly.
And I'd forgotten that before lockdown we started going, we started a little tradition, and before Christmas I've got 3 boys, adult boys, and we would meet them at the restaurant somewhere, and we'd pay obviously, and we'd have a Christmas session, a Christmas meal and a Christmas drink and a Christmas catch up, a giggle, and it was so lovely. And they still come around for Christmas Day, but that actually was a lovely tradition. And then lockdown happened, and we stopped doing it. So now I need to make sure that we do that again. We start that up again.
Have nice little traditions.
Yeah, and go swimming on Christmas Day.
I might do that this year because I got my big brother down, and he's about my big brother has PTSD, was in the armed forces, and he does struggle. So, and we didn't know we didn't know the extent of the PTSD for a very, very long time, and now he does some really cracking things. And actually, one of the local cinemas where he lives gave him a free pass to the cinema, so he could control the sound. So if he was in a cinema and there's bangs going off and stuff, he could cope with it because he knew he was in a safe environment. But hearing noises would be quite triggering for him for a very long time. And he cycles now. Actually does anything. He's also a rugby veteran, and he's dead cool. I hero worship my big brother. Don't tell him, all right? So if he don't tell him I said that, because he used to, frequently beat up his little baby sister and knuckle her head, and so so big hero worship. So I think actually I might throw that challenge down on Christmas Day and say, come on everyone, let's hit the beach.
And it's so nice down the beach because there's so many people there, and otherwise you just sit in the house doing nothing, which is okay if that's what you want.
I'm cooking for 5 million
obviously
people
cooking,
in my house.
and then you kind of go on the sofa. But last year we went down, and my youngest is bonkers, and he went swimming in a mankini and got a big round of applause in a green mankini, got a massive round of applause from everybody on the beach. And we had hot chocolate. We took hot chocolate down because the cafes are closed, which is great.
I'm not sure if I'm going in my skins. No. I think I'm a wetsuit
I was going to say in your mankini. No, please don't go in your mankini.
I'm not going in any mankini. Oh my God. I'm like lettuce. I'm better dressed, I am. But
that's lovely to think of down the beach on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, whatever. And the choir, we always go and watch the choir.
Choir's good.
On Christmas Eve.
We have a tradition of not necessarily Christmas pyjamas, but pyjamas. And that came back from when we were kids. So we go to midnight mass with Mum and Dad. And then,
we did.
And then we get back from midnight mass, and under the tree, oh my word, there were these like little pyjamas for us. And we took that forward. So our little girls, they'd get into the bath, and then suddenly there would be power cuts in the house because magically there was this great excitement going on outside, and like it happens in quite a lot of houses,
Does it?
And then the girls are like, oh my God, it's really exciting, and you can hear Santa, and you know that he's just scattered in random houses jammies.
All these pyjamas.
And we've carried on, and like so it still happens in our house.
Wow.
So it's very, very exciting, and so I like that tradition. So we're going to carry on taking that forward this year, probably.
And I always make, what are they called?
Devils on
horsebacks for her daughter, for Maddie.
That's a tradition.
That is a tradition, yeah. So I make devils on horsebacks for Maddie and sausage rolls.
We were doing early Christmas shopping, weren't we, the other day? Food shopping, and stocking up, shoving it in the freezer on a discount deal, wasn't it? It was like, it was marvellous. So I bought the dates and the bacon ready to go, so she can then make it up and then bring it around the house and go, ta-da!
Yeah.
So,
it's fabulous. It's lovely.
Okay, so other traditions that you have. Can you think of any?
What, over Christmas or New Year?
Yeah.
Well, do you know, we haven't had that many traditions because my husband worked in hospitality for years and years, for 30 years or longer actually, and he would always work at Christmas and New Year. We wouldn't see him. He'd maybe have Christmas Day evening off, but he would go to work on New Year's Eve in his daps, in his suited and booted, in his tails and everything. Absolutely wonderful
in his
evening.
Daps?
Yeah. They're daps, aren't they? With
daps?
white and...
Yeah, these are daps.
Not daps then, well, whatever they're called. I can't remember what they're called.
Daps are what I wear on my face.
Right, I'll think of the name. No.
Spats.
Are they spats? No, whatever. Anyway, I can't remember. Anyway, he would go to work at like 5 o'clock. It was the only night he'd get nervous, and they'd have bagpipers at midnight. It was lovely, but he wouldn't get home till 4 o'clock in the morning, and then he was shattered, and he was so tired. So we've not really had many years of traditions. So we're making those traditions now that he's not working at Christmas and New Year.
We're blessed. So my husband was in the armed forces, and he always went away Boxing Day, but between Boxing Day and... It just fell this way between Boxing Day and probably the 5th of January. So he always went away for years and years. But, you know, touch wood, we had every single Christmas home with him.
Yeah.
Never a birthday, Valentine's, anniversary, none of that. But Christmas Day we did get him, which was a really nice thing for us. But it was always like this bittersweet because you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You knew in the next sort of 24 hours it'll be off again, and then you weren't sure how long he'd be away for and when he was going to come back. So that was quite tough. So we had to. So I think it's probably why we're over the top with Christmas, because it's this fringe thing. Just getting used to this fringe malarkey. It's all new for me.
But you know, I said to James, my youngest, who's 27, I said, "Oh, we bought some new stockings the other day, Christmas stockings," and he looked at me. And he went, I said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Do you want your old woolen one?" He went, "Yeah." And I said, "The one that everything gets stuck inside, you know, the little woolly ones, and all the threads are bare, and you get all your bits stuck." And he was like, "Yeah, I want that." I'm like, "Okay."
Oh yeah, we still do. Santa still brings
carrot,
thathumas and nuts in the stockings. So we have all of that stuff, which is really exciting. So our tradition is this. So our kids like to give, and so Santa comes, and we do a little stocking downstairs because in our house Santa somehow brings stockings by their beds, which is hilarious when you've got young adults, because I still support the situation. I obviously am talking in what's the word? We might have young viewers. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, but Christmas morning, the first thing is about the girls giving their presents. And it's just the coolest thing. It's a bit of a competition who gets to make mum cry, because invariably they do. And like they'll make things, even now in their sort of like early 20s, they'll make things or put photos together in a little frame, or have picked shells off a beach and have turned it into a little bracelet. So really cute, gorgeous things. And that's done it for me, because we think we've raised our kids well.
Yes,
because it's not about
absolutely
what they get, is about what they give, and I love that. That's really important to us. So it's not always about the money.
No, and we always sit round and we watch what everybody's got. So it's not just a mad open. We take our time, and one person will open, and you go, "Oh, that's lovely," and laugh if it's a pair of socks.
And I'm always grumpy at my husband, because he'll go, "Oh, it's a book." I'm like, "No, don't give the surprise away." You go, "Oh, it's a chocolate orange." If Santa doesn't bring him multiple jelly tots, there's always murder. And if there's a stash in the house, because this is the other thing, this is a mum thing. This happened in our house growing up as kids. Mum and dad have gone off and they've done their Christmas food shop, but you're not allowed to touch the Christmas food.
No, you're not.
And there's like a moment in time where it's like, right, that's it, it's now officially Christmas, and you can tuck in. And the same happens in our house. So Christmas food is like something that we don't encourage. We can't start it early, and they're sneaky. They're sneaky in my house, because they're already starting to break into things that I've hidden stashed around the house. It's a nightmare.
It is. I haven't hidden mine yet. It's in the conservatory because it's cold out there, but they know they're not to touch it.
Really?
Yeah, we'll have to go and buy it all again then.
Yeah,
and the idea is that you don't want to go in the shops.
Matchmakers. Matchmakers to go through.
And chocolate oranges, they're mandatory.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It goes without saying. Selection boxes, I've kind of gone off it. It's a lot of packaging.
It is, but mine have to have a selection box.
It's
all of them.
Did you used to have a pillowcase?
Yeah.
When you were a kid?
Yeah.
Because we didn't really have the stuff
we didn't know.
Oh, God, we're so old. We really are old, aren't we? It's hilarious. But, an eggnog. I remember that when I was a kid.
Avocado.
Baby sham.
Baby sham and avocado. Yeah, we used to have. I would hate to taste it now. I dread to think what it would taste like.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, but my other traditions we have in our house. Sorry, I'd lost my earpiece as well. I'm terrible today. What am I like? Other traditions in our house was we always went round the neighbours on Christmas morning, and it was a booze fest. So we were kids, and my mum now tell stories that she was slaughtered.
Was she?
Every Christmas day. And
we would never do that, would we, in the mornings?
Like, Pat would come around my house on Christmas morning.
She'd make me drink Moose's milk.
Have you ever drunk Moose? Oh my God, Moose's milk. Right. If you're interested in drinking a winter cocktail,
it's lethal.
Get in touch. I'm not going to promote it on the air. I'm not responsible. And obviously you have to drink responsibly.
You do.
But if you're interested in Moose's milk, look it up. Or contact me and I'll send you the recipe.
But needless,
I will also send you the advice on wear something comfortable when you drink Moose's milk, because you start upright and then as you carry on, you start like licking the outside of the glass and sliding and making yourself really comfy. And before you know it, people have to go home and lie down and they can't cook Christmas dinner.
Yeah, make sure you've got somebody else to cook Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Pop your foot on the floor to just stop.
I love that I get the blame for everything.
Well, it was you and your husband. I think he made it.
He does do a lethal Moose's milk.
It was gorgeous, though.
It
should come with a government warning.
Yeah, definitely. But oh my goodness. Oh, well, it's a Navy drink.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting.
And then putting your Christmas tree away and clearing the house always feels lovely and
real tree,
clean
fake tree.
And well, I love a real tree, but we've got a wood burner, so I just don't think it will survive very long. Yeah, so it's going to be fake for us this year.
We had a fake tree for years, but the dust.
I love a bit of dust.
It got on my nerves in the end, so we actually finally binned it off. And then we've had a couple of good years with good trees, and then a couple of terrible ones. Currently, I was just describing my Christmas ahead. I've got 9 for Christmas, and I've got, I don't know where, don't ask. I haven't got room for 9, but we've got 9. And then I've got 5 dogs in total. In a moment of weakness, I said I'd look after a friend's dog who's going away, and then the family are bringing down 2 more. So we got 5 dogs. So this year, cunning. So this year I've tied ribbon in various places around the Christmas tree and attached it to points in the front room. So the tree is a little bit more bomb-proof than dog-proof, but you understand what I'm saying. To protect myself, it's going to be chaos. It's going to be bonkers, but I can't wait.
No, one of my sons traditionally, when they've been out having a little Christmas drink, goes and hugs my tree or jumps on it.
So me and Pat, you'd not long been working for me. So and I knew her sons, and they're just marvellous. And they were giggling, and I said, "What's so funny?" And don't tell mum. But Ben was really drunk last night, and he literally did a dive on her Christmas tree.
And I love my tree.
Flattened the Christmas tree, and I knew about it. I went, she'll go mental. You better put that tree back up. You better make sure. And I said, I'm telling you now, she's going to go completely bonkers. I'm like, yeah. And then then they wrote me into the whole gag, so I knew about and they literally rugby tackled the Christmas tree.
Yeah,
it was a long time.
And I think I said something's wrong with my tree, and there were a couple of bits.
But they're all the memories, right?
They are all the memories, and lovely memories. So
I'm interested if there's anything that you want to share in terms of your own experiences and traditions at Christmas. I like to nick others. You know, if they've got good traditions, it's like, oh, I like that. I'll take that with me. And then here's another one: mulled wine, yes or no?
Oh yeah, definitely. I love mulled wine and mulled cider. We got
into that.
We did. That was a few years ago.
Wasn't it?
Mulled cider's nice. It's really warming, isn't it? And spicy, and it's just warms your cockles.
This is not turning into a bit of a thing, is it?
A bit. Yeah, we better come off the subject of alcohol. And I don't drink nearly all year. I do not.
I don't drink.
I
Should we talk about Thursday night?
That was your fault.
Shall we?
No, that was
Shall
your
we?
fault.
No, we can't. It's just too embarrassing. It's not embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing.
Like, so I did learn this though. This is a thing. Where am I going? Which camera? I'll stay here. I did learn this recently. I went to a bit of a fancy Christmas party out of Cornwall. And it turns out, I don't know if anybody knows about this, it's a thing called stash. And stash, believe it or not, now stay with me on this conversation, is when people fake having a birthday, when you go to a party or a bar or restaurant, fake having a birthday, so you got a wine bottle bag, and in it you just drink from that instead of going to the bar.
Or a present bag with your
or
little
a present
tinnies.
bag with your tins in it. And your little, and I learnt that. It was a posh party, and people were with their little bags of stash. And I laughed, and I went, "Oh, I know people in Cornwall who have bags of stash as well." Because the younger generation, they do prinkies.
They do
don't
prinkies, so it saves them money because they can drink at
pre-drinks
home.
before they go out. It saves money and whatnot. But again, cautionary note, drink responsibly. That's really important. Don't do anything untoward or underhand unless you're off camera, and then you can contact me and we'll have a chat. I'm definitely the naughty auntie.
You are, yeah, definitely.
But I wouldn't do anything that would...
No, you wouldn't.
And I'm definitely first there in the battle. I'm like, come on, come on. I'm definitely that girl. Oh, I'm having issues with my phone today. But we're fine. So yes, drink responsibly.
Yeah.
So,
That's the subject.
New Year's traditions, yes or no? Are you into not New Year's
resolutions? We kind of go.
Yes or no?
We don't want to do New Year, New You, do we? Because it should be long term. But we always talk about it. We always talk about diet and eating healthily because we can do it for so long, and then we.
Well, we are going to grow into those lovely old ladies that are really bad for each other.
Yeah.
Oh, we're already there already. I'm not a fan of New Year resolutions because I think it can set so many people up for disappointment and failure. I would rather small mini goals, micro goals, and just like I live every day by work hard, play hard, and give something back, and that's like my philosophy. You know that. I've said that for a very long time. So I've neglected the play hard for a while, but I feel so much better now. And when it comes to New Year's resolutions, it's like, well, how can you? What do you need to do to be the best version of you? Yeah. Rather than this year I'm going to run a marathon or climb Kilimanjaro or like things that for many are not practical or unreasonable or something that's just so out of your realm that it's just never going to happen. Because over the years, even as a personal trainer, you get people that would come to you and say, I need to lose 6 stone in 4 weeks. You're like, what? It's never going to happen? Never. Even with surgery, that is not going to happen. No. But they're so unrealistic, those goals, that I find that it then has the opposite effect. Yeah. That you're not going to hit the goal, and therefore it's going to be really stressful and upsetting. So from a sort of goal setting point of view, in January I want to, and do it that way. And then on reflection, then you can look back and go, January, I went sober for a month. Yeah. February, I nailed 14,000 steps a day. March, I caught up with old friends, made a mission to go and do that. April, went dancing. Whatever it is, just set small, achievable, realistic goals and go, I've got 4 days. In the next 4 days, I'm going to say no all day. Or the next 5 days I'm going to say yes all day. You never know where it's going to lead you. But small realistic challenges work way better and are so much better for your soul.
And getting your family on board and your friends on board is really good, isn't it? Because then they're all part of it. And it's rather than saying, I'm going to eat healthily for a month, and you know that your family are not going to, or they're the ones that buy the chocolate, then get your whole family on board. Make it a lifestyle, make it a group effort, and you're more likely to make those changes.
Well, sabotage is a big thing. And you might not even realise that you are a saboteur. And that's quite the challenge. So I'll give you an example. I'm on a diet, so I'm not going to eat the cake. and your mate goes, oh, go on. It doesn't count when you sit in that corner, or when you go out for a coffee and a cake, it's calorie free, and we joke about it. But actually, you're not respecting your friend's wishes. So, and this is like a thing, you know, when we talk about this in our health and wellbeing circles.
Yeah.
But there's often somebody that's going to sabotage your choices, and it's more about them. It's more around the saboteur is, if she loses weight, it's going to affect our relationship. Or if she loses weight, she's going to change, and our relationship will change as a result of it. And we see that in a lot of relationships as well. So I'm going to say it's not unusual, but again, personal training days, you know, I had women, many women that I would work with that wouldn't ever admit to their partners that they were with a personal trainer. We literally, and I remember, you know, being at a petrol station and that face like, don't even smile at me, don't acknowledge me. And that's quite a primal response. And what it is often that he thinks she's going to change and she'll leave him for a younger model. And the same the other way around. When he's changing and evolving, she gets quite stressful. So, you know, this is like just being conscious that, oh, go on, one won't hurt. Here's a trick. This is really hard for me right now. I'm really trying to sacrifice some of the things I really love doing because I want to improve on myself. So please lean into this and help me and support me. So, and I'll give you an example. I've really tried to make a conscious decision to be a bit better around food of late. And my mate is lovely. She made me a coffee the other day, and I thought there was going to be milk in it. No milk. And I was really chuffed that she got my back. So she supported me, not doing what I often do to Pat, which is, there's no calories in that. So, you know, and I know I'm a saboteur sometimes. So it's like just being respectful of each other's boundaries around health and well-being.
So there you go.
So
what do you think about that? Contact the Chaos team if you want to comment on anything that we've said, if you've got any resolutions, if you like resolutions, if you don't. And this is I Care, I Move, Helen and Pat, finishing off our lovely year with Chaos.
Signing off, saying thank you for watching, thank you for supporting us during this year. We love spending time with the Chaos team and the nuttiness that goes on here. It's just been wonderful experience. We love you all. Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
And we look forward to 2023 with you.
Yeah. Take care.